Ah, those were the days. The war had just ended. We'd survived rationing, blackouts, and bomb shelters, and for the first time, there was hope in the air. But then something strange happened. Britain, the land that had just defeated the world's greatest threat, started turning on itself. New laws came flooding in, some meant to rebuild the nation, others, well, let's just say, they made everyone scratch their heads. If you grew up in those years, you'll remember the confusion. Posters everywhere. New law, passed by Parliament. One week, they told you to eat more bread. The next week, they banned the bread you liked. We didn't know whether to laugh, cry, or move to France. So today, we're taking a trip down memory lane to look at 20 laws Britain passed after World War II that were either too strict, too weird, or just completely failed. And trust me, some of these are so absurd, you'll wonder how we ever managed to survive the 1950s without losing our minds. Let's start with the ones that really got the nation talking. The Bread Act of 1946. Oh, this one. You could fight a war, but you couldn't have white bread. Yes, in 1946, Britain, a free country again, banned white bread. The government said it was unhealthy and wasteful, and instead forced everyone to eat what they called the national loaf, a grey, tasteless, wholemeal brick of misery. Bakers hated it, families despised it, and kids joked that even pigeons wouldn't touch it. But it was law. For 8 long years, the national loaf ruled our breakfast tables like a cardboard tyrant. Public outrage grew so much that newspapers called it the Bread Rebellion. When the ban was finally lifted in 1954, people queued up to buy white bread again, just for the feeling of freedom. So yes, Britain won the war, and then immediately declared war on its own sandwiches. Dangerous Dogs Act 1955. Ah, the dogs. The law that actually caused nationwide panic. Certain breeds, Alsatians, pit bulls, suddenly became illegal. Families lost pets overnight. Neighbors reported each other. Courts struggled to define dangerous. It was meant to protect children, but ended up punishing loyal pets and their owners. Even today, it's one of the most controversial UK laws ever. A reminder, sometimes protecting people creates heartbreak instead. The Sunday Observance Act. Now imagine this. It's Sunday afternoon, 1950. You've worked all week. You want to go see a film or a football match, but guess what? It's illegal. The old Sunday Observance Act was still being enforced. No cinemas, no sports, no dancing. You were expected to stay home or go to church. That's it. People started calling it Boring Britain. Cinema owners would secretly open their doors, pulling curtains over windows so police wouldn't notice. In some towns, raids were carried out mid-film. Imagine watching a cowboy movie and suddenly real police show up. Eventually, protests forced the law to relax. But for a while, even laughter was regulated. Britain had peace, but no entertainment. The Identity Cards Act. During the war, everyone carried ID cards. It made sense, for security. But when peace returned, the government refused to stop. They wanted everyone to keep their ID cards, indefinitely. People were furious. Britain had just fought against totalitarian regimes, and now its own government was tracking citizens like schoolchildren. In 1950, one ordinary man, Harry Wilcock, made history when he refused to show his ID to a police officer. His words became legendary. "I am a free-born Englishman, and I will not be ordered about like this." Public support exploded. By 1952, the law was scrapped. That single act of defiance ended Britain's first real experiment with a surveillance state. The Clean Food Act, 1955. Ah yes, the clean food revolution. On paper it was brilliant. Safer kitchens, higher hygiene standards, cleaner public health. In practice, it was chaos. Inspectors raided small shops and bakeries daily, handing out fines for the smallest thing. A bit of dust on a shelf? Fine. A cracked tile? Fine. A slightly old loaf? Shut down the shop. Local family businesses couldn't keep up. Many closed permanently, replaced by larger, faceless chains that could handle the red tape. The public started joking. The Clean Food Act kept the food clean by making sure nobody could sell it. The Licensing Act, 1949. Long before COVID, Britain already had its first lockdown. After the war, the government decided pubs should close early to encourage discipline. So, strict drinking hours were introduced. Pubs had to shut in the early evening, and serving alcohol outside those hours was a crime. What happened? People didn't stop drinking. They just found new ways to hide it. Secret bars, lock-ins, and illegal home brews became the rage. It turned Britain's drinking culture underground, and honestly, the law probably made everyone drink more. When it finally relaxed in the 60s, the country sighed in relief and poured another pint to celebrate. The Rent Restrictions Act. This one was meant to help, but backfired badly. After the war, rents skyrocketed, so the government froze prices to protect tenants. But landlords quickly said, "Fine, then we won't rent at all." Repairs stopped. Old buildings decayed. New houses weren't built. By the mid-1950s, Britain was drowning in a housing shortage. A law made to protect homes had actually made it impossible to find one. National Service Act 1948. Britain's war was over, but not for its young men. In 1948, the government forced 18 to 21-year-olds into 2 years of military service. For a generation that had just grown up watching their fathers fight, this felt like punishment. Many didn't see the point. "Who are we fighting now?" they'd ask. The policy stayed until 1960, but resentment ran deep. It was one of the few laws that united both conservatives and liberals. Everyone wanted it gone. The Clean Air Act, 1956. After the Great Smog of London in 1952, which killed thousands, something had to be done. So the Clean Air Act was introduced, banning the burning of coal in many cities. It was a landmark law. But again, the timing hurt ordinary people. Working-class families suddenly couldn't heat their homes. Coal was cheap. Alternatives were not. So people secretly burned coal anyway. London may have cleared its skies, but its citizens froze through the winters. The Cinematograph Films Act, 1948. After the war, Hollywood dominated screens. So, Britain decided to fight back by forcing cinemas to show a certain percentage of British films. But there was one issue: the public didn't want to watch them. They wanted Humphrey Bogart and Marilyn Monroe, not low-budget war documentaries. Cinema owners found clever loopholes. They'd play a 2-minute British film first, just to tick the box, then show the American feature. The act failed spectacularly. Hollywood still ruled, and British cinemas became known for showing quota quickies, cheap fillers that no one cared about. The Housing Act, 1949. The dream was simple: build homes for everyone. But bureaucracy killed it. The Act gave councils funding to build new houses. But red tape, corruption, and delays turned it into a nightmare. Some houses took years to finish. Others were so poorly built they needed repairs within months. Families moved into damp, freezing homes, and the press nicknamed them the cardboard estates. It was supposed to rebuild Britain. Instead, it reminded everyone how broken post-war planning really was. The Commonwealth Immigrants Act, 1962. Now here's a law that left a bitter taste in many mouths. After the British Nationality Act, 1948, people from Jamaica, India, Pakistan, and other colonies had moved to Britain, working hard to rebuild our cities. The government suddenly said, wait a minute, maybe too many arrivals. So the Commonwealth Immigrants Act restricted immigration, work visas, sponsorships. Suddenly, people who were considered citizens just a few years earlier weren't welcome anymore. Public reaction? Mixed. Some cheered, afraid of change. Others were shocked. Families split. Workers turned away. It was Britain turning its back on the very people who had helped it survive the war. The death duties increase 1949. You'd think the post-war economy would help families recover, right? But no. The government decided to increase inheritance taxes, or death duties as they called them. A farmer dies, and the children have to sell part of the farm to pay the tax. A factory owner dies, and workers wonder if the factory will survive. It was meant to make Britain fairer, but for many it felt like punishment for being successful. The rich complained, the middle class groaned, and public resentment quietly simmered. The Official Secrets Act, 1960. Espionage was real. Cold War fears were high. But this law went overboard. Even journalists and ordinary citizens could be prosecuted for minor leaks, like a schoolteacher sharing a map that maybe had a restricted zone. People whispered, they're watching everything now. The law kept secrets safe, but it also scared people into silence. Freedom of speech took a back seat in the name of national security. If there's one thing we can take from this, it's this. History isn't just about victory parades and celebrations. It's about laws, mistakes, struggles, and laughter along the way. And in the end, Britain survived, with stories to tell, laws to shake your head at, and memories that still make us smile.